We're going to be looking today at a passage from the Gospel according to Luke in the 6th chapter. And it's an area where Jesus is talking in parables. And if he had said to the disciples, the thing I'm trying to describe to you is kind of like trying to reset the navigational gyroscope on a spaceship, they would have looked at him like, what are you talking about? Jesus would have known what he was talking about, because Jesus knew today as well as he knew yesterday. He knows the end from the beginning. But, of course, spaceships hadn't been invented yet. They had no idea what a gyroscope was. So when Jesus talked to them, he talked to them in language they could understand. And these people, even though some of them may have been merchants or tradesmen or scholars, they were still very connected to the earth. They understood agriculture. So instead of talking to them about gyroscopes, he talked to them in terms of the land and the things of the land, and they could get it. Now, he said, I'm going to be telling stories, and some people will get it and some won't. And it wasn't because the language was obscure to them, it was because through the hardness of their hearts, they just weren't able to understand the message that he was trying to give them. So let's take a look at a few of these, beginning in Luke chapter 6, verses 41 through 49. And why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not perceive the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, brother, let me remove that speck that is in your eye, when you yourself do not see the plank that is in your own eye? Hypocrite! First, remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck that is in your brother's eye. For a good tree does not bear bad fruit, nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. For every tree is known by its own fruit. For men do not gather figs from thorn bushes, nor do they gather grapes from a bramble bush. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good. And an evil man out of the evil treasures of his heart brings forth evil. For out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaks. But why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do the things which I say? Whoever comes to me and hears my sayings and does them, I will show you whom he is like. He is like a man building a house who dug deep and laid the foundation on the rock. And when the flood arose, the stream beat violently against that house and could not shake it, for it was founded on the rock. But he who heard and did nothing is like a man who built a house on the earth without a foundation, against which the stream beat vehemently, and immediately it fell, and the ruin of that house was great. Let's take a look first at the speck and the beam. Depending on the translation you're reading, it may say speck, it may say fleck, it may say a mote. And all of these words are indicating something that is pretty small and insignificant. But then he says that you have a plank in your own eye. And again, your translation may say log, it may say beam. And the Greek word that's used here in the original is suggestive of something that is big enough and strong enough to be a support in a structure. So I like the word beam, because you know what a beam looks like. It's big, it's chunky, it holds up a lot of weight. So Jesus is saying you're concentrating on that tiny little speck that's in your neighbor's eye, and you don't even pay attention to the beam that's in your own. Now, in the course of Scripture, this is Luke's account of the Sermon on the Mount, and this is shortly after Jesus says, judge not lest you be judged. Don't worry about that speck in your neighbor's eye. You've got your own problem. You've got a beam in your eye that you need to get out before you can even think about helping your neighbor with this tiny little speck. This goes back to judge not lest you be judged. It goes back to don't compare yourselves among yourselves. Don't spend your life trying to make yourself look better by judging others. That's what you're doing. When you spend a significant amount of your time talking about other people and their problems, what you're really doing is trying to make yourself look better. I would never do that. I would never say that in public. I would never even think of something like that. But look what he did. Look what she did. You're trying to raise yourself above those around you. And that's not your job. It's God's job to elevate you at the right time and at the right place, according to His good plan and according to the merits that He sees in your heart. So forget about the mote, forget about the speck, and ask God to show you what your beam is that's blocking your vision. And then he switches and he starts talking about trees. Good trees give good fruit, bad trees give bad fruit. You don't go to a thorn bush to gather grapes. Okay, these things kind of make sense. And we are asked to judge each other according to the fruit that we see coming off of people. When you find yourself wanting to judge the fruit coming off of other people, go back to step one. Look at your beam before you talk about their speck. Judge not lest you be judged. Don't compare yourself among yourselves. It's important to look at the fruit, but it's important to look at it in perspective and from a godly point of view. If an apple tree produces bad apples, plural, and every apple you pick, there's something wrong with it, then that tree is bad. But if you pick one apple off of an apple tree and it's rotten because a bug has crawled in and eaten part of it and disease has gotten into it, maybe that one apple is bad, but the rest are good. In the same way, a person who makes a mistake, who commits a sin, isn't necessarily evil at the core. They just made a mistake. They need to be loved. They need to be forgiven. And yes, maybe it's your place to offer some correction, but not in a condemning, beat them over the head with a Bible way. If you try to correct someone with a wrong heart, they're going to feel it. And they're going to become defensive and try to tell you that they had good cause to do that thing. Defense mechanisms are real. And if you try to correct them with the wrong attitude, those defenses are going to come up. And not only are you not going to be able to correct them, but you're going to make the problem worse, because now they have justified in their heart their own actions. So judge a tree by its fruit. Judge a person by their fruit, by their actions, by the words that come out of their mouth, by the way they treat their neighbors and their friends, and especially by the way they treat strangers. keep it in perspective. And then he talks about building a house. We sang about it in one of our opening hymns. What foundation is your life based on? Jesus said, I will build my church on the foundation of the gospel, the truth of who I am, the truth of why I came. Is your life built on a solid bedrock foundation of Christ? If not, you have to worry about when the storms are coming. Because I've never met anyone who didn't have a storm in their life. They happen. Lost jobs, lost loved ones, lost income. The foundation, the bedrock, is what holds you firm. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All of the ground is sinking sand. If Christ isn't the foundation of your life, the storm is going to get you sooner or later. They seem like pretty simple concepts. Why did Jesus say some people aren't going to get it? Because he knew their hearts. He can take a heart made of stone and remove it and put in a fresh, clean, shining, beating, beautiful heart. But only if the person is willing. We talked about it in Sunday school this morning. The idea that Christ's salvation is for everyone, but it isn't guaranteed to everyone unless they're willing to receive it. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever shall believe. If you don't believe, it's not there. And if there's anyone here today who has never made that decision, that step of faith to believe in the person and the Godhead of Jesus, and to receive this beautiful gift of salvation, today is the best possible day to come forward and receive that gift. If you're watching online and you can't come forward, it's okay. It doesn't have to happen in a building with a cross and a steeple. It can happen wherever you are, any time of the day or night. Open your heart and open your mouth and call in the name of Jesus. I promise you he will hear. Let us give thanks to the Lord for all he has done for us by giving back a portion in our tithes and offerings.